Hi, everyone, and thanks for tuning in to Animal Justice Emergency. This is Pamela, and today, dogs, alpacas, criminalising dissent. Is the vegan revolution being born? Hmm. Today, I'm going to be talking about the clash of two narratives and how vegans can leverage this, perhaps to create animal liberation in our lifetime. Does that sound too good to be true? It sounds too good to be true to me, but I don't know. You tell me what you think. So we've got a couple of things that I've been observing going on over the last year or so. On the one hand, we've got what I would call macro realities, things like government, the UK government's police and crime bill, which is all about increased repression, criminalising dissent, a threat to protest and assembly. But there are protests protesting the bill. Interesting. Two, we've got the global push of authoritarianism and control on behalf of the elites. People like Bill Gates, who's the biggest private landowner of farmland in the US, which I just discovered recently. Why? Mr. Gates, who enjoys meddling in policy in countries like India on things like malaria and vaccines. Why? We've got Monsantos of this world also pushing their hideous GM products in places like India, biopiracy, trying to patent life. But we've got massive protests in India from the farmers at the moment, many of whom are women, because a lot of people don't realise that. But a lot of, especially the smallholders in India, are actually women in agriculture. So we've got the third thing, which is the right-wing authoritarian regimes are coming into fruition. Obviously, we had Trump, and now we've got Biden, we've got Bolsonaro in Brazil, and now we've got Boris and his cronies in Britain. And they've all got a similar sort of agenda. Again, it's pushing the neoliberal agenda of reducing public debate, democratic process, and targeting the poorest and most vulnerable. And what they're doing is leveraging COVID to increase control of public space and the narrative. And no, I am not a COVID denier, okay? But I think it's very interesting to see the powers that be have basically seen the opportunity that COVID has given them so they can legitimately do the stuff that they really wanted to do, increase control of public space and debate. And people can't really argue much about it. It is kind of it's legitimate in one way, but they're using it to piggyback, as it were. I hope that's not too speciesist, but to jump onto another authoritarianism bandwagon. So that's on the one hand, the global picture could be seen as quite depressing. On the other hand, you've got micro indicators, things like the conversation I had with my neighbour, who's a senior lady, over the garden fence the other day. And we always chat about the weather and, how it is, you always do, and cats and stuff like that. And she actually mentioned climate change. Now, this is a lady whose basic principle in life is never to rock anybody's boat and to always agree with everything. I mean, she's just really, one of those people, kind of a salt of the earth person, but never disagrees with anything. Anyway, I was absolutely gobsmacked that usually it's me that's sort of like banging on about climate change and how hideous it is and tra-la-la. And suddenly she mentioned climate change. Oh, I think that's climate change. I'm not really? Oh my God, yes, of course it is. You're right. Again, I thought that was really interesting because that shows if somebody who's basically sort of like a very ordinary person who's never going to rock the boat, climate change now is on her radar to the extent that she's talking about it to a neighbour. That shows some kind of massive shift. The other thing that I noticed, I was in Tesco's the other day. I do shop there occasionally, more than I'd like. Anyway, and I saw this pile of sort of plastic balls because they moved everything around. And they were on this sort of, it was almost like a display. It was like lots of cardboard boxes. And on the side of these cardboard boxes was the word sustainable. I'm thinking, can plastic balls actually be sustainable? But then I thought, well, it's kind of interesting that it's on the outside of the cardboard box. And there's a message here that Tesco's is trying to get out about its plastic balls. And the manufacturers are getting out about their plastic balls. And it's all about sustainability. Hmm, so that was interesting. And then we had our friend I just discovered today, Roger Yates, on Irish TV, some sort of show called Virgin or Virgin One. And he was doing stuff about veganism on the Eating with the Enemy strand. And that all went really well, apparently. And I'm looking forward to seeing that as well when we can get the links or whatever. Now, these may seem like tiny, 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 tiny things. And I know obviously veganism has been on the telly before in all sorts of different ways. But I'm looking at a sort of like an overall picture of what's going on in the world from the larger perspective down to the sort of very grassroots. And I think what has happened, and it's been catalysed by COVID, which has been a fantastic catalyst, whatever else it's done, and obviously respect to and condolences to anybody that's suffering from COVID or has had people pass away because of that, and also a lot of people are struggling. However, that doesn't change the fact that COVID has been an absolutely colossal catalyst for change. It's been a change in the way that many of us have been living our lives, the way we work, the way we entertain ourselves, going out, not going out, the way we meet family and friends or not. And what that has resulted in is a lot of people thinking about how do we want to live our lives. Massive changes have happened, which brings us to animal companions, to dogs. Now, as vegans, we all know that the whole sort of like, there's been this upsurge, colossal upsurge, in people wanting animal companions in to keep them company and to go on the walks with them, mainly dogs, but some cats as well, during the COVID times. And okay, they're not vegans, most of them won't be vegans, they won't be seeing this in a vegan perspective, but I think it's an indicator. I read something in The Guardian, which I think is also pointing in a similar direction. Apparently, there are people that own alpaca farms. Yes, alpacas like the smaller, slimmer, woollier versions of llamas that should be living in South America that have been transported over to the UK. And apparently, you can do, according to The Guardian, alpaca walks of all things. Yeah. And the picture that illustrated this piece was with a lady, the alpaca was sort of like lying down on the field. The lady was sort of like using the alpaca as kind of like a couple of cushions and reading and looking very relaxed. And what the alpaca farmers are saying was like business has absolutely skyrocketed because people want to do this sort of alpaca walking. You walk around with the alpacas. Which all sounds, obviously, from a vegan perspective, extremely dodgy. However, the farmers were saying, this, and they're booked up to September for this unlikely activity. And again, they're saying that people want to connect with nature because of COVID. Now, talking of connecting with nature, we've also got information from estate agents. We're now saying that places like searches for properties, you've got Cornwall, which is one of the most rural counties in the UK, is now outpacing London in the searches. Everywhere, people are trying to sort of like, because they're working from home and questioning the way they're living, they want something a bit more rural and a bit more chilled out. So again, we've got a lot of thinking going on. Now, also, when I was in Tesco's last week, I was startled to see, like, they've actually started to arrange their vegan and plant-based products. Like, there seems to be suddenly, like, overnight since Easter, there's like it looks like 3 times more, and they're making more of an effort to arrange it. And I thought, good God, That's really kind of amazing. You know, plant-based and vegan is now coming to be a massive thing. Sustainable is a massive thing. Ethical, minimalist, everything. These words are being bandied around. Now, you know, I'm not saying that everybody's going to be, really understands what sustainability is about. Most people don't. They think it's about tweaking the system rather than the only system that we can have is a totally new, different system. It's not about tweaking the current system, a few sort of like sustainable products here, there, and everywhere, still marketed by the likes of Tesco's. We need a complete system change, which is what I'm coming to, and the potential that we have as vegans to be part of that. So I think what it indicates, yeah, although it's mostly greenwash and trivial, it indicates a real possibility for system change. And the conversations that I've had with ordinary people, I think, indicate a potential appetite for a more equitable and less automated, work oriented, consumeristic life. I could be wrong. I think the thrill of online is wearing a bit thin, and people are genuinely want to create meaning and also with nature. Thoughts and values are a priority, I think. And this is where, of course, COVID provides a fantastic link and a fantastic opportunity for us, because this has been done. The link between the animal death industry and the virus was edged into public discourse over the last few months. Now, it wasn't done fantastically, but it was there. Okay. I've got stickers on my dustbin, which I leave outside on the pavement outside my house. And I have actually seen people about veganism and the link between that and COVID. And I have seen people literally stop in their tracks and read them. I mean, literally stop in their tracks because I think what they're looking at and read them. So I think this whole COVID thing, it's not going to be going away, but it is an opportunity for us to really unite as vegans with other groups and say, look, we know the change is coming. We need to create change as a matter of priority as survival. Let's join together, because we've got G7 coming up in June in Cornwall, global leaders. Okay, it's an opportunity at least to put these issues into the media, even if we're not going to be able to participate. We've got COP26 coming up in Glasgow in November. So we've got an opportunity to build alliances of global resistance with other groups and for vegans to engage with other struggles. Oh, we can educate ourselves on the other struggles. I think this is absolutely key, that we educate ourselves on what's going on in places like India and Latin America among, Uber drivers and, Deliveroo drivers and all this sort of stuff. If we need to educate ourselves and provide some context in order to have meaningful conversations about veganism, animal rights and justice with these other activists, in order to create some sort of like massive global movement, which I think is sort of perhaps happening. Now, it won't be easy. That's the one thing I can absolutely guarantee. You heard it first here. The challenges are huge. The opposition is massive. Well, that's what we kind of knew. Okay. But COVID has been this massive, massive, massive catalyst. And I think, it's the thing that is interesting to me is how it seems to have changed people's priorities, values, and what they're thinking about. That is really where I think the whole vegan animal rights agenda has a massive opportunity to dive in there. Is that why we're also seeing this authoritarian push from the governments and the elites for even greater control of our lives and thoughts? Because they see this push for more equity, justice, and freedom. And of course, if there's one thing that elites, political or non-political, don't like, it's democratic involvement by the people, for the people, of the people. They don't want that. They want us stuck behind our screens, mindlessly, doing nothing to rock the boat. The last thing they want is alliances of like-minded progressives, including, of course, vegans and animal rights activists, joining together to take control of the way in which the system is changing. Now, just in case you thought this is some sort of happy clappy, good God, Pamela's gone on to the sort of like positivity vibe. I am not a positive person. I am 100% a glass half empty person. And I was actually feeling a bit rubbish over the Easter weekend. But then when I was sort of mulling all this stuff over, I thought, you know what? I don't know. It just seemed like it's an opportunity for vegans to push animal rights into the mainstream. Like surfing the zeitgeist, this whole sort of back to nature, animal companions, different sort of like values thing going on. And that we then have another opportunity to end the war on all animals and create peace and justice for everyone. So maybe I'll just, maybe the sun on Sunday and Monday, no, not Monday, maybe the sun got to my head. I don't know. Let me know what you think in the comments below. We need to organise, we need to educate, we need to build alliances, we need to talk to each other and not just talk to vegans. Let me know what you think. Thank you for your time. It's been fun chatting with you. If you haven't already liked and subbed, please like and sub and whack the old notification bell. If you feel there's anything here worth sharing, it would be great to support the Animal Justice Emergency channel by sharing with like-minded vegans and non-vegans. You have a fantastic day, a great week, and maybe some sun.